Nia is a very small game. It comes in a nice metal box. I saw it one day at my friendly local game store. It was pretty cheap. It was like $12. I was like, what the heck? I didn't know a thing about this game, but I thought, I'll try it. I'll give it a try. Even if it's terrible, I'll just cannibalize the components to use them for other games. And hey, the box is so good and looks so good, and it's metal, I can use it for something else. Actually, the game in it is a very light, abstract game, and I don't regret purchasing it. I don't regret keeping it as a simple filler. What I like is that the game can be explained very easily, and the components actually do look super good, so I'm happy from that point of view too. You have two sets of tokens in two colors, red and black. They represent different clans. It's a two-player game, so each player receives a clan. Each token has different art, different member of the clan. I like these plastic tokens. They look super good. And not surprised that they reminded me of the plastic tokens for the game Battleship when I realized that the game is produced by the same people. I really like this type of token. I hope that more game companies will make tokens of this type. They're sturdy, nice feel, totally cool looking. You also have 16 tiles which you use to form the board. You shuffle them and you place them in a random way to form a 4x4 square. These tiles show two symbols on each of them, so there are different combinations of two symbols per tile. That means actually different combinations of a total of 8 symbols. 4 symbols have to do with the vegetable world. They are leaves, irises, cherry tree. You can see here, or the other ones here, and here. And then you have pine tree. Then you have other 4 symbols that are the flag, poem, birds, such as this one, the sun, and rainy clouds. When it is your turn, you take one of your tokens and you place it on the board, or I should say, well, it becomes part of the board because you use that to replace one of the tiles. So you place your token there and you take the tile, you put it somewhere where it is visible as a reminder of the options allowed to the next player. Because what the next player does is to do the same, that is to place one of their tokens to replace one of the tiles, but now the other player is bound to select a token, to select a tile that has at least one of these two symbols. So now black player can choose a tile that has pine leaves or rising sun. Suppose that I decide to do this. Now it's back to red player's turn, and now the red player can choose a tile with a cherry tree or with the rising sun. And I decide to do this. The only limitation really is that the first turn, the first player must place their tokens on one of the tiles, so as a replacement for one of the tiles along the edges. Other than that, you can replace any tile that matches one of the symbols that were on the previously selected tile. That is the only restriction. What is it that you're trying to do? One of several things. You win the game if you manage to place 4 of your tokens in an horizontal or vertical or diagonal row. Also, you win the game if you manage to place 4 of your tokens in a 2x2 square. Finally, you win the game if you create a situation in which the opponent is left with no legal moves to perform, and therefore if the opponent cannot go, you also win the game. Nia is not a great game, a super game, a complete blast. It will probably not blow you away, but it's not bad. It is not bad at all for the price and for the very small time investment that it takes to learn and to play the game. this is a good product. It looks great. I have to say the quality of the components is really high. If anything, this is a game that may look a little too good for its own good. Some of the symbols are not that easy to see at the first glance. They wanted to go for a very good and appealing look. So, for example, it's not the same bird repeated 4 times. It's not the same branch of the cherry tree, and some of the tiles you barely see the branch of the cherry tree. You see little twigs, little flowers. So the fact that the same symbol is not repeated makes the game look good, but also makes it a little harder to tell things apart as you are all concentrated thinking about your stuff. Other than this, the material quality, the feel of the components is really great. It's a minor complaint that I have about the design, which looks great but loses in functionality a little bit precisely because of this. Otherwise, the flow of the game is fast enough. It is great that you can teach the game in a couple of minutes. You can play it in 5 to 10 minutes, probably closer to 5 really. If it gets a little closer to 10 or past 10, then the game may feel maybe a little too boring, a little too slow. Maybe you are playing against a player that has analysis paralysis, and then for what the game is, I think you should keep it snappy. You shouldn't make it last too long. If you manage to keep the pace going, then actually the game is pretty interesting. It has a spatial aspect, which is sort of like a more cerebral version of Connect 4, with more challenges, of course. But I like that the board, so to speak, is so small, and it's pretty claustrophobic. It gets cluttered pretty soon, which means that after each player has like 2 pieces on the board, maybe 3, then each player already has multiple possible ways of completing a set of 4 or a small square, and so does the opponent. So even just after a bunch of moves, you really think that you're close to win, but you also feel that the opponent is there too, so you have to find this right balance between finding an opening to complete your set and preventing the opponent from completing a set before you do. You had to think a couple of tiles ahead and seeing the possibilities. Again, try not to get the game stuck, which probably will not happen that often because the number of options is not large, so that probably should not be a problem. But I know some players really are prone to that. And for a game this short, as I said, of this small scope, such a minimalistic design, just make sure you play this against the right players. I also like the fact that the spatial aspect and, in a certain way, the quote-unquote counting aspect are interchangeable. You may go for the perfect combo that will give you the 2x2 square. You're looking at things visually as the opponent is counting how many symbols are available of each kind, and when you think you had the perfect opportunity to complete your square, to complete your set of 4, the opponent got you stuck because actually you have no legal moves. And vice versa, you may be concentrated on trying to get the opponent to lose the game by taking away all the legal moves, and the opponent has looked at things visually and manages to win that way. So there are multiple paths to victory, and there are quick reversals. I really like that. There are quick reversals in which you think you're totally dominating, and then you overlooked a small detail, and naturally you lose the game in a single move. I like that. I don't want to make it sound more than it does. This is far from an epic game. This is a small filler, abstract game, and I usually don't play many abstract. But if I'm playing an abstract for 5-10 minutes as a filler, as a game to warm up during a game night, then this is perfectly fine. It's pretty portable. The box is nice and sturdy. If you want to make it even more portable, you simply dump the components in a sandwich bag, and the game travels even lighter than it does. So Nia, I don't think this is a game that will win any Best Game of the Year award. It's not one of the best games that I have in my collection. It's not a game that I'm very excited to play, say the day before, yes, tomorrow we get to play. But as a small extra filler that I can play with anybody, with non-gamers or gamers alike, so simple, so easy to teach, and so quick, definitely this is a game that can have a place in a gamer's game collection. I'm happy that it is in my collection, even though it will never be my favorite game. So it is a game that can have a place in a gamer's collection, definitely can have a place in the menu of a game night.